What's up, everybody? So today we're going to be doing another Ethernaut challenge from here. Today's going to be level 1, second level here, but this is level 1 here, and this is called Fallback. This is a pretty easy level here. However, if you guys haven't worked with these contracts before or don't know what any of this is here, I definitely recommend going back and watching my first video here, which is the first level, the 0 level here, which is more or less a tutorial, but we'll kind of help you guys get some of the basics here just with the setup and this web app here. All right, so without further ado here, let's go and click on Fallback. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and scroll down here. I'm going to say get new instance, and while this is loading, I'm going to take a look at the contract. I'm going to say confirm, and we're going to open up the console. I am using Chrome here, so some of the commands might be ever so slightly different. I know in the first video it said some of the times you can just use contract. For Chrome, you guys use await.contract. But anyways, let's take a look at this contract from here. So the contract name is Fallback. We have two public variables. We have a mapping, which is addressed to a uint. This is called contributions, and this is public, which means we can access it. And we also have an owner. And the owner is being set right as the constructor function is called. Remember, the constructor function runs one time when the contract is first deployed here. So whoever deploys this contract is the owner of it. And then the contributions here, which is, it's a mapping, but it's sort of like an array if you're not familiar with mappings here. It maps a uint to an address, or the other way around, an address to a uint from there. So we have a message sender, and they have a balance of this many from there, so 1,000 ether more or less there. All right. Then we have a modifier, which means that some of these other functions can only be called, and my SQL database is updating here because it is midnight. They can only be called if by the owner. So that's pretty standard from there. When you're doing these contracts here, you definitely want to take a look at this. Like, don't just take this at face value here. Definitely look at it and make sure there's no errors in the code, because sometimes that will help you kind of find the answer, figure out the puzzle from here. We have a function called contribute. So anybody can contribute to this contract from here, but we can't contribute more than 1 ether. So going over this contract before the video started, I think this is so that you can't just put more in than what the sender already has, and you can't just beat it that way. Like if you had 1,000 ETH of Grelly ETH in your account, you can't just beat it like that. They want you to do something a little different from there. By the way, I did jump around a little bit here. What you want to do here, you will beat this level if you can claim ownership of the contract, reduce its balance to 0 here. So we want to become the owner. So contribute from here, blah, 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 if the message sender equals message value from here. So whatever you put into the contract, that's stored in the mapping. Now this is very interesting from here. If the contributions of the message sender is greater than the owner, then we become the owner. So that's a huge, I guess, nugget of information right there. Moving forward, we have get contributions, so we can see how much we contributed. We can withdraw, which is necessary for the second part there. But again, this is only by the owner, so we have to become the owner first before we can withdraw. And then finally, we have a receive here. Now this is very interesting to me here, because we're going to require that the value is greater than 0. That's pretty standard from there. So if we just send 0 to this function, it's not going to run here. And that the contributions of the sender is greater than 0. So we have to give this contract, we have to store something in the contributions before we can just send it to it, before this will run from there. Now, if we do that, if we get past this require here, we now become the owner, right? Check that out there. So this right here, this is what we're after. Now, what we could do here is we could go and try to call different methods with the API through the console. That's definitely one way to do it. I think for YouTube being a little more visual from here and different people, kind of viewing things on YouTube, I'm going to use Remix here. And Remix is pretty cool here. We can basically take this contract, we can hook it up in Remix, and we can actually load the contract at a certain address here. So I'm going to copy everything here, and I'm going to make a new file here. And we're just going to call this ether. Let's call it Fallback. Fall with my cursor back .sol, and let's paste this in here. We're going to get this nice warning and then save. Now if you ever worked with Remix before, they do provide you with a VM here. We have an issue. What's wrong with that? Illegal. We're hiring. Oh, I copied that too by mistake. Check that out. So by default, it should be on a VM from here. Now what I can do is I can hook this up to my MetaMask and kind of have it interact with the same blockchain that's on my MetaMask from there. So I'm going to drop this down here, and that's on that tab right there to MetaMask. And now you'll notice that this account there is no longer their fake VM accounts. Now this is the same account that's not in my MetaMask, but it is my MetaMask from there. You can see I created the instance, same account, that's all hooked up from there. Now the way that I get this contract loaded at a certain address here is by this right here. You can actually see it from last time. So I'm going to remove that. First off, we're going to make sure it compiled properly here. Cool, looking good. And then we're going to go to my console. I'm going to copy this instance address here, and we're going to paste this right there. So now we can see that we loaded the address, or excuse me, this contract at this specific address. We didn't create a new instance of it. We loaded it at that specific address. And we can kind of confirm that. I mean, more or less we could confirm it by some of these variables right here, like who's the owner, right? It's coming back properly there. And then if we run like, await contract owner, we had that same information coming back. Now, theoretically, it could just be the same address here, and the contract could be different, but this kind of confirms that we did deploy it properly here. If this read like 00000, we know that something might be up either in the chain that we're on, or maybe we're on a different setting, but that's looking good from there. Anyways, from here, let's go ahead. We have the owner. Let's check out contributions. So let's see how much this guy contributed from there. Right, he contributed a whole lot, which seems to match up with this from there. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looking pretty good there. Cool. We can't withdraw because we're not the owner, but we learned before that we can work on this receive function from there. Now, the precursor to this is that we want to call this contributions here. We want to give it some type of funding. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to contribute, and I'm going to send it some ETH and contribute, right? Because this is a payable function. Let's go ahead and let's send it some finny. Let's just send it like 10 finny. And we're going to say contribute. Execution reverted. Why is that there? Maybe because of the gas value. Okay, so I went to Gwei instead of finny. And now it looks like it is working. Confirm. That might have been something I clicked wrong there. Just maybe my brain's not working right now. It's getting a little bit late. But anyways, now that we contribute a little bit to this contract from here, the second half of this should run, because now our contributions of our account, or excuse me, of our account there are greater than 0. And we can prove that by if I copy this here and I go to contributions and I paste that right there, now we have some value greater than 0 stored in this mapping, right? So now let's work on this first half from here. The message has to be greater than 0. The message value, I should say, has to be greater than 0. And if both these are evaluated to be true, then we become the owner. Cool. So let's do that though. Let's just send it to this address here. And what we could do is we don't have a button for that, but we can copy this address here. We can go to our MetaMask and we can send it to that account in our MetaMask. And let's just go 001. Next. Confirm. And now that's all set here. Now, if we go back and we look at the owner, now we have a different account. And not only is it a different account, but it's now our account there. So that means the first step here is done. We claimed ownership of the contract. Now let's reduce it to 0. And even if this wasn't here, I would probably want to do this anyways to get my test ether back, right? So we can withdraw that. Even though it's not a whole lot, sometimes that test ether can be kind of hard to get. So, why not? And this always takes a little bit longer. There we go, cool. And now that the balance is at 0 and we are the owner, let's go ahead and submit this instance and let's see if we got it. Submit instance. And confirm. And now we're waiting. I'm always curious about these symbols. I know this is a Japanese symbol. I believe it is a hiragana symbol, but I'm not quite sure why they have that there. It might be katakana, I'm not sure. Anyways, here, it looks like that we have completed this level. We did it correctly, so we are in good business here. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to let me know why. This way I can make my videos better. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.